Well, I don't think you need to be an economist to answer that. What we've seen since the fiscal consolidation plan was announced has been essentially 18 months of no growth, in contrast to the forecasts published at the time of the plan, which were for growth by now running at about 2.5% at an annual rate. At the same time, we've also seen that the path of fiscal consolidation has gone way off track. In other words, it hasn't delivered the reductions in the deficit that were forecast at that time. So in both senses, in terms of actually getting the deficit down and in terms of restoring confidence and delivering economic growth, the plan clearly hasn't worked. Now that's not, it should be emphasized, that is not solely the failure of policy. Other events, such as events in the Eurozone and the rise in commodity and oil prices, have also knocked us off track. But clearly, the over-hasty speed of fiscal consolidation has also done some damage. Well, the primary long-term damage, in my view, comes through the labour market, i.e. By higher than necessary unemployment, in particular higher than necessary youth unemployment, especially long-term youth unemployment, you permanently damage the employment and earnings prospects of those people who are affected. So we know from the experience of previous recessions that their employment probabilities will be damaged not just now, but 5, 10, 15 years in the future. They will earn less and work less than they would otherwise. So that does permanent damage to the social and economic fabric of the country. There will also be damage on the corporate side. There will be businesses which should have been created, productivity improvements that should have been made, that will not be as a consequence of this period of recession. Well, in the short term, with interest rates really at historic lows, with lots of spare capacity, both in firms and in the labour market, what the government should be, and lots of excess private saving, what the government should be doing is finding a way of channeling that private saving into spending and investment. Now, the simplest way to do that is simply for the government to borrow more. That is, after all, what the markets are saying. The markets are saying, borrow and spend. We'd like to lend you the money so that you can spend it, and that's what we should be doing. If the government won't do that, then the second best option, which it is now tinkering with, which is to give some guarantees to private sector companies so that they can borrow and invest, for example, in house building and infrastructure, that would certainly be a very positive step compared to where we are now. Well, they're certainly not doing it fast enough in that they should have been doing this 18 months ago. But I think they are beginning to understand the scale of the problem, and they are certainly working hard to try and work out ways in which they can find a way of channeling those private sector savings into an investment. But what really they do need to just get on with it. There are things like house building, which are really in economic terms a no-brainer. We need more houses in this country. House building is at historic lows. We have lots of unemployed people who can build the houses. We just need to go out there and get on and do it. The thing that you can do quickly that will have an economic impact is indeed house building. Infrastructure is also important, although we should be careful in the sense that it's quite easy to get into the building bridges to nowhere if you go simply trying to push the money out the door. The other thing that I would spend money on is a substantial expansion of employment programs, in particular programs designed to get young people back to work. This isn't a matter of doing anything terribly different from what the government is doing now. It's just doing quite a lot more of it much more quickly.